like get in. Okay, so I built this a few years ago, but of course the Jello's new. I replace the Jello every year. I promise that would be really disgusting. And unfortunately, this year they ran out of like the light yellow where I was at, and they said this was orange, but it's dark, so I apologize. It's harder to see. But we've got a cell model here. And I just wanted us to see, I find it's really useful to base the entire class off of, get you really seeing and thinking of a cell as an in the world thing. So I took a little cell and expanded it out really big. And just seeing it as a moving, living, breathing thing. So what we have here, so I've got, of course, our famous nucleus that we all learn about in school, and we go, oh my God, he's the boss. But he's actually sort of this library for the cell, holding all sorts of records. And the cell is being tied together by a cytoskeleton, which is a little harder to see. Let me pull a piece of it out. But yeah, these are twist ties, but hey, close enough. So they're supposed to tie things together. So the cell is giving structural integrity by the cytoskeleton, but you'll see some of these pieces actually go to the cell wall. And there's going to be, for example, if it's an epithelial cell, another cell right up on here. And this little bit of cytoskeleton might actually even continue through to that next cell. And what does that mean? Can they affect each other? Mm-hmm. Heck yeah. This cytoskeleton also, remember those little motor proteins that had little legs? And they were walking? They walk on this through the cell. And there's a lot more cytoskeleton there than I put in here, because then you wouldn't see a lot of the cell. So we've got cytoskeleton, we had the cell membrane. We talked about how the cell membrane, keeps the cell differentiated from the outside environment, but will let things in and out. Communication, pressure, pull. There is the idea of things called vesicles. I cross-sectioned this one. It should be, closed off bubble, but it's like a little fatty bubble with different signaling molecules inside. And when the cell is going to send things out, it goes and merges with the cell wall and then goes out. And that's, if it's going to stay in the local environment and maybe hit another cell over here, that's paracrine signaling. If it's going to go out and it's going to jump into a capillary, bloop, endocrine signaling.
Wait, this is a vesicle?
Vesicle. It's a little bubble. It's a fatty bubble that contains often little proteins, hormones, other things that either the cell is carrying around in itself, or that the cell is going to exocytose, so exo, out of, cyto, cell, out of the cell, and send it out to either local or far, far away tissues. And the vesicle is just the package.
Is that the Amazon one you were talking
It's
about?
the vesicles, the Golgi is, or Golgi or the Golgi, Golgi, right here. So we've got the library here, and that's the pink area. That's an old golf ball that was hot pink. I thought it was cool. And then on it is what's called the endoplasmic reticulum. You see this folding back and forth and all these little squigglies. Think this is a manufacturing area that helps gathers together materials and then uses these little orange dots that are all over it, called ribosomes, to manufacture things, especially proteins. So it takes teeny tiny building blocks called amino acids. You don't need to remember that. But they take the amino acids and it strings them together into different useful shapes. Imagine I'm making, for the cell, be like a person making a hammer, a person, making a jackhammer, a person making this tool or that tool, or a cell phone, if it's a communication thing. This is where things are made to be of use for the body. And sometimes signaling molecules, they're made here too. A lot of stuff is. And these are then the particular shape or structure they're made has a use as a tool in the body. So a hammer has a certain shape. It makes it useful, right? It's a different shape than the screwdriver. Body does the same thing. So right in here, and the ribosomes along here will create a lot of that. You'll notice there's also little orange dots out here. Why would there be ribosomes throughout the cell? Well, not only do we need to, make things directly from the nucleus that are more complex and more tools, the entire cell, has little depots to make stuff just for local use. It's pretty cool. So when these tools are made, this weaving sort of strange tubular wrapped on itself shape is actually a fatty layer too, with goo and stuff inside, and it will actually loop off a little bubble of itself. I kind of tried to make the shape to show it was pulling off, and it will send off whatever it's just made bloop, over and send it to be sent out. So or to other spots in the cell. But if it's going to get sent out, it'll go over here, plop, and it will merge with this Golgi, the Golgi body or Golgi apparatus. And you can see there's little proteins and other stuff in here. And those will get packaged up so that they can travel better. So, a little extra bubble wrap and stuff. Not exactly, but you get the idea. And they'll get processed through here, moved through here. And then you can see one budding off right here. It's about to get bloop, kind of moved out and bubble off from the rest, and either go to somewhere in the cell or somewhere outside. And you can see how this environment, anything does, including the large organism, is going to affect everything else. Pretty cool. And then I did a little cross section here. There's mitochondria throughout, and I'm sad this is not quite as see-through as in previous years, but there's here, I'll take it. Come here, little guy. Okay, here's a nice little mitochondria without a cross section. He's living down there, and they are grouped. You'll notice I've grouped them here near things that need a lot of energy. Anything that's going to produce something or do certain types of work, they're going to need the mitochondria. Those are the guys who make something called ATP. We'll talk a little more about later, but that's a chemical energy source for the cell that turns chemical energy into mechanical, electrical, all sorts of good energy. So anywhere you're going to need energy, you have mitochondria. You have a crap ton more of mitochondria than I've shown here. This is a crazy simplification. And in certain tissues that need more energy, like nervous tissue, like your nerve cells, oh good Lord, they're just rich with these little mitochondria. Muscles need it too. Anything like fat doesn't need much mitochondria. So, typically, unless if you got something called brown fat, which I'm not going to go into. But yeah, these little guys, these mitochondria power all of this stuff going on. There's a lot more to this cell, but these are the main pieces I'd like you guys to be at least familiar with, and the idea that the cell is constantly in action, creating things. It's not just sitting there and living, it is constantly creating you. Some of the packets, if this, for example, there's so many cell types, but if this was, for example, a fibroblast cell, and we'll go into that soon. Fibro is a fiber. Blast, in the context of a cell, is going to be something that makes something. So a fibroblast will make fibers. Later, an osteoblast will make bone. So fibroblast, let's say this is a fibroblast cell, these little things that it's producing here, probably a lot of collagen, which are most of the fibers of your body. And it's going churning away, producing these things, taking in ATP constantly from the mitochondria, so it has energy. These little ribosomes are like knitting together proteins like crazy. Collagen's this crazy complex strand with, you know, all sorts of different amino acids woven together in a really cool braid, and there's like 17 different types or something, so it's pretty complex. And then it's gonna send those little fibers, the collagen fibers, or at least parts of it, over to here, and they're gonna get packaged, and then they're gonna be excreted and laid down right along the track of the fibroblast, who is crawling through your body like a slug and laying down lines of tissue.
Wow.
Pretty cool. Anyway, that was a lot of me talking. So anybody want to play with the cell? Yeah. So, and I should wash my
What are
hands.
those little cheesy type things?